in public, and otherwise are all pretty good about it.
Boys, let's cross through a bit of rugby, and obviously incredible weekend of internationals where every series was delightfully poised at one apiece, and we all treated some fabulous rugby. None more so, though, than Ireland's historic series victory against the All Blacks. I'm going to start with Mystic Max. You were one of the few who actually predicted it, for me, which obviously, well done. But tell us how epic the men in green were from your point of view.
Oh, yeah. It was like I said, they were just, with the ball in hand, they were deadly. And then they were just winning all the collisions, most of the contacts. Shout out to Akira Ioane had a big one, same with Adi Sevilla, but the rest of the team was sort of fan wanting up front. I thought like Ireland were just everywhere, like emotionally, you could just see it. They were so galvanized by the history they could make. They were so good. And like that Omani sort of moment at the end of the game sort of was so poignant. It sort of clarified and emphasized just how much it meant to some of those boys. Unbelievable. Since Tyke Byrne as well, absolute freak show.
Mate, he was the player of the whole series, I reckon. He was fucking outstanding every game.
Unbelievable player. He must be like the best lock forward at the moment. Like, you don't see Locks do what he does. It's like that 10 minutes, that 10-minute passage where he's making like 3 turnovers over the ball. Yeah. It's like a freak show. But yeah, it was such a good game. I thought Keenan was really good as well. There were so many outstanding players. Bundy Aki also, he came in and he did an
he was big.
Yeah, huge, wasn't he? You could always count on the Kiwi boys to come hard for the ABs, though. Like James Lowe was loving it.
He was loving it too. Yeah. I think Ireland, you may have said it in your prediction, but I think Ireland for a number of years has kind of been, if there was anything close to a bogey team for the All Blacks, Ireland's been it, right? And certainly in recent years. They went over there, got dusted in the first game, but just from that they made the slight adjustments from the first game, and it just didn't look like losing from that point on. The way that they were prepped and the game plan they went into, I think, like whilst the Kiwis wouldn't be happy with that series loss, they've also probably wouldn't be happy with the fact that Ireland potentially have given a blueprint on how to beat them moving forward as well. So and it doesn't get easier for the Kiwis going over to South Africa for their first 2 games of the Rugby Championship.
We always go on about how good their structure is, their attack with Sexton and all their attacking shape, but fuck, their defence was unbelievable as well, and they were forcing the All Blacks to make mistakes, weren't they? You've never seen an All Blacks team make that many mistakes, like simple handling errors as well, and that's because of the pressure and D. So, yeah, fair play to Ireland.
Is Andy Farrell also in charge of the defence there for Ireland? Like it's being,
I'm guessing so, being a fucking league, yeah.
Well, that's there's obviously there's got to be something in that. We see so many leaguers come across and be the defence coach, because Anthony Seibold, the old Rabbitohs and Broncos coach here, rugby league, was the England defensive coach, and I thought that especially in the second half, the English defence was absolutely outstanding, and that's effectively that's what won them the game. So yeah, I mean I don't know. I'm not. Other than when I first started in 2004, we had John Muggleton, a former rugby league player, as our defensive coach. Since then, I've really only had sort of rugby guys, but I don't know what it is in terms of what they bring across. Because then you watch the league, and the wingers always shooting in and leave that last man on the egg. Like you have to scratch your head in sometimes watching league in the way they defend. But then when it comes to union, and the defence coach takes over the reins, there's definitely something in it.
Well, one thing they definitely bring in is the old head-on-head contact, high shots.
Oh yeah, they love that.
They fucking love it, and you saw it, didn't you, with Porter? Did you see the state of Retallick's face? You could see it, the hole in his cheek. I'm pretty sure that you could see it on the sideline, where he's just got a lovely sort of tenderized jawbone, but there was a big old dent in the side of his face, and you're thinking, fuck, he's out.
Yeah, I think he got off that, didn't it? His sighting, I think he just got dismissed.
Well, and the fact that the week before it was a red card, I mean, I don't think it's a red card, like putting it out there. I've said that the week before. I don't think the week before was a red card either. But it's a bit unfair, isn't it? That the week before it was a red and this week it's just a yellow.
Yeah. I think that's probably the frustrating thing with everything at the moment is just the consistent lack of in how they're adjudicated. But
what was the argument though? Was it that Andrew Porter was going backwards? Wasn't it? Like it wasn't like a Ringrose. So Ringrose was like starched.
Maybe he didn't bring the force.
But I was like, yeah, I don't know if that's how you measure it. But then again, maybe that's it. But then people are like, on the outcome, we should measure it on that. I'm like, well, if you start doing that, it could get real fruity around here, lads. So you can't be doing that.
But on the decision, it's a yellow card. A yellow card is better than a red for that situation, that head and head.
Yes,
that stuff. Like, I think that's a better decision. But yeah, I think the Kiwi boys would have been a bit pissed off that the week before they got done for it, and this week it was another
double standards, exactly.
Through knowing how tough it is to actually beat the All Blacks, for Ireland to go over there to win the series, would you put them as heavy favourites to go on and win the World Cup next year?
Oh, come on, settle down.
That's
yeah. I mean, look, let's not understate what they've achieved. I think it's massive. It's something I haven't been able to achieve in my career, and we've been wanting that Bledisloe Cup for, I don't know, 16, 17 years or however long it's been. So it's massive. But I think France is still the rightful favourites going into the World Cup next year. Aside from the fact that they're hosts, I just think the depth that they've been able to create in the last 2.5 years with, the way they managed COVID, and I think 2 Six Nations ago, their last game was played with almost a second string team. Then they came down to Oz with a lot of their top tier players staying back in France. So they've probably got a genuine list of 50 players in the last 2.5 years that have played international footy that they can tap into at any point and be ready. And not just the fact that they're ready, I think the way that they're playing, the confidence they've got, and the style in which they play, I think is they kind of know their identity now and how they want to play it. And so I think France are definitely the favourites. But Ireland certainly have really shot up the ladder in terms of, down the ladder in terms of odds and favouritism going into it.
How much you put on it?
On the Irish?
How much do you put on the French winning the World Cup?
No, I don't try not to bet on rugby, fellas.
The right answer.
You guys are trying to get me in trouble.
Gamble responsibly, but let's get loads of betting on the show.
I think there's 4 teams that have got a good chance to win the World Cup coming up.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be really competitive. I don't think there's I don't think there's a massive favourite. I think France are ahead of the pack, but I think Ireland definitely got a shout. I think Australia look interesting to me. I think with the right, with all their players fit, I think they're going to peak quite nicely. I think England also have a good shout. South Africa, obviously. Man, it's going to be a hell of a World Cup. I'm really looking forward to seeing who comes out on top on that.
Max, are you holding a spatula?
Yeah. No,
I'm fiddling with a rubber.
I was going to say it's a sledgehammer.
Oh, just a fucking rubber hammer. Oh, okay.
Yeah, no, it's part of my
Mate, I just looked over before and I thought you were playing with your hammer under the table. I was like, hang on, what's going on here? What sort of podcast?
That's not a euphemism. Hey, calm down there. What you got down there? You playing with your black hammer under there?
My big black hammer.
I don't know where we go from that.
No, well, let's